Hi Ninja, Sensei Hussaina here. Hope you're all doing fine. We miss you guys so much. Seriously. Today we're going to be building a pie game on Scratch. So I'm going to share my screen really quick. There we go. So I'm already on my Scratch page, and before I start my project, I'm going to name it. That is the most important part, and we should never forget it. So I'm going to call it pie game. That looks good. So before I start anything, I'm gonna remove that cat sprite because honestly, no one likes it. Is it just me? I really don't like it. So I'm going with ballerina today, and for my pie, I'm just gonna draw it because there's no pie sprite. Everything requires a pie sprite. We need to say that to Scratch. So my drawing's not the best, so let's ignore that for today. And my pie is probably gonna look like a waffle. I hope we can ignore that too. So there we go. That looks really bad. For my filling, that looks good. Yeah, that looks pretty okay. Cannot believe how bad this pie is. Okay, so let's just assume this is a very delicious looking pie. Um, so for my backdrop or my stage, I was thinking of going with Galaxy. So we have a random ballerina and a random pie floating around in the galaxy, like how they usually do. So there we go. So now my pie is the perfect size and we have my ballerina. So what I'm going to do to start the game off is I'm going to have the pie go to a random position when the green flag is clicked. So that is perfect. So what I'm going to do next is set my ballerina up so that when I click my arrow keys, she moves. So we did this, if you remember, we did this in the first game of our Scratch curriculum, which was the maze. So this should be pretty easy. So when up arrow key is pressed, you point in direction 0, not minus 15, 0, and move 10 steps. You can change the numbers, like you can change the move 10 steps according to how fast you want the ballerina or whatever your sprite is to move. But your point and directions need to be where I'm setting them up to be, because that way they go in the direction you want them to go. So notice how I'm putting these numbers in 0, 180. That's because it makes it easier for you, because if it faces directly up, if this arrow faces directly up, that means your sprite is going to go directly up. If it faces directly to the right, then it's going to go directly to the right. So that way you don't have to remember the numbers. But yeah, that's the deal. So down arrow key, right arrow key is pressed, point in direction, oops, 90, and move 10 steps. When left arrow key is pressed, point in direction minus 90 and move 10 steps. Now, something that's really weird that the ballerina is going to do now is this. Watch. just flips in the galaxy. So that is not how we want our ballerina to move, unfortunately. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna find a block that says set rotation style, and we're gonna change the left to right to don't rotate, and we're gonna add it right underneath the one right arrow key is pressed. So I'm not exactly sure why it only works when you put it under right arrow key, but that's just how Scratch is working. So that should work. Yeah, perfect. So the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna set up our variables. So we need a variable for our score, and we need a variable for our time. So now we have our score and our time. So the next thing we're going to do is have a condition. So if my ballerina touches my pie, she says, got you for 2 seconds, and my score increases. So that's what I'm going to do now. So how I'm going to start this is I'm going to have a if then block. I'm going to go to sensing, if touching. Okay, so before anything, I'm going to change the name of my sprite to pie. Okay, so if touching pie, then say got you for 2 seconds and change score by 1. Now, another thing I'm going to add to this block of code is this. I'm going to say broadcast new message. I'm going to have it say touching. So in a few minutes, I'm going to show you what this exactly does. But trust me, this makes your game way less complicated than it's going to be without. So now we have this line of code. But if you've noticed, we don't have an event. And this is not going to execute if I don't have an event. So this is where it gets like a little iffy. So Scratch won't accept this code unless it's there individually for all of the arrow keys. So that's because when green flag clicked, for some reason it just doesn't execute. So I figured if I add it to all of the individual arrow keys, it could possibly work, and it does. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to duplicate all of these. Oops. And add it to all of the arrows. Now, another reason why this could be the case is when you're moving your arrow keys, that's when you touch the pie. So that's why it needs the code individually for all the arrow keys, because unless you're not pressing down on your arrow keys, you're not going to touch the pie. And there's no way that we can have a code for all 4 keys, so which is why you need to have it in all of the individual ones. So now that we've done that, so we have broadcast touching. So what we're going to do with this is we're going to go back to our pie, and under events, there's when I receive touching. So we're going to get that. So the deal is when my ballerina touches my pie, she says got you for 2 seconds and my score changes by 1. But what does my pie do when my ballerina touches it? So that's what we're handling now. So when I receive touching, I go to another random position. So I'm going to add that. Now the deal with this is that we need it to go to a random position again and again and again. But not just, okay, just a second. So there is a mistake with that. We need to add another condition here. So if touching ballerina Then we go to random position. I just completely forgot about that. I'm so sorry. That's my bad. And under this line of code, I'm going to add a forever loop because we don't want it to receive touching just once and touch the ballerina just once and go to random position. We need it to go to a random position every time my ballerina touches it. So we need a forever loop. Forever loop. I just mixed block and loop and bloop. But yeah, so every time it touches the pi, it goes to a random position. So there we go. That works perfectly fine. So the next thing we're going to do is set our timer. So when green flag is pressed, I'm going to set my score to 0 and set my time to 30. So I'm going to make the duration of this game be only 30 seconds because otherwise it gets pretty boring. If you have so much time, you're always going to win. The next thing I'm going to do is add a forever loop. So this ensures that my timer works properly. Next thing I'm going to do is have it wait 1 second. Wait 1 second. And after it waits 1 second, it changes my time by -1. It's important to have the -1 so that it decreases and not increases. So from 30, it goes to 29. So that looks pretty okay and should work. So the next thing we're going to do to complete this game finally is set up how we're going to win and how we're going to lose. So if my score is 10 and I still have time left, I win. And if my score is less than 10 and my time is 0, I lose. So that's what we're going to set up now. We go to events when green flag is clicked. So I'm going to do my first condition now. If score equals 10, say I win and stop all. Because this is what ends the game, right? And my next condition is going to be for losing. So if my score is less than 10, change that to 10, and my time equals 0, then say I'm such a loser. I'm such a loser. And I'm gonna have it stop all. And this line of code also requires a forever loop. So that's it for the code. Let's check if our game works. So timer seems to work pretty well. Got you. There we go. 2, we have 3. We're almost winning, people. Oh, actually, we're running out of time. Never mind. Oh, 10 seconds, 8 seconds. I think I'm gonna win this one. There we go, and we win. So see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.